Good morning. So today we're going to hear the godly place story of Paul's travels. In the beginning, the baby was born. His mother and father named him Saul after the first king of Israel. His home was in a city called Tarsus near the sea. And as the boy grew, he helped his father in his shop. Now Saul's father made tents, and even though Saul's family lived far from Rome and were Jewish, they were made Roman citizens like many others in the city. Perhaps this had something to do with making tents for the Roman army. Saul heard many languages in the streets of Tarsus, but it was the language of the synagogue that he loved most. His father and he read the Torah together, and Saul was very serious about knowing the Hebrew Bible. Saul grew, and when it was time, he decided to go to the city of Jerusalem so he could have the best teachers. He waved goodbye to his family and home in Tarsus and traveled to the holy city. When Saul entered the city through a great high gate, he went first to the temple and he worshiped there. And this is probably also where he studied and worked. His teacher was Gamaliel, or another rabbi in Gamaliel's family. Saul wanted to be one of the Pharisees, who worked hard to understand and keep all of the laws of the Torah. Saul worked hard to understand and keep the laws. He had no patience for people who did not. One day, he heard about the followers of the way. They thought that the Messiah had come, and it was Jesus of Nazareth. When Saul heard that, he became angry. The Messiah was supposed to drive away the Roman soldiers and rule with justice and mercy. Jesus was a criminal who had been crucified. Besides, in the law, it says that God curses any animal hanged on a tree. These people were telling lies about God, and he had to stop them from saying such things. Now, Stephen was one of the most important followers of the way, and the priests in the temple decided to punish him. And he was taken outside the city walls to be killed. Saul held the coats of the ones who threw the stones at Stephen until he was dead. And then Saul was given a letter by the high priest to go to Damascus to catch more followers of the way and bring them to Jerusalem for punishment. Now, this part of the story you heard last week. Saul traveled to Damascus. Remember how one afternoon he climbed the road toward the city, and suddenly there was a great light. And it was so bright that he fell to the ground and could see nothing. And in his darkness a voice came to him. Saul, Saul, why are you trying to hurt me? Why are you persecuting me? All Saul could say is, who are you? And the voice answered, I am Jesus, the one you are persecuting. Get up, go into the city. You will be told what to do. And Saul tried to get up. He looked for the path, but he was blind. Saul was led into the city and left at a house on Straight Street. And for 3 days he went without food or water. And then in the chaos and darkness of his blindness, he heard another voice. Hello, brother Saul. I am Ananias. I was sent by Jesus to lay hands on you and bless you. And when Ananias touched Saul, something like scales from a fish fell from his eyes and he could see. Then Ananias baptized him, and Saul was changed forever. He could feel the power of the Holy Spirit growing inside him. And so Ananias and Saul ate together. And slowly Paul regained his strength, and when he was better, he went to the synagogue to tell his fellow Jews the good news about what had happened to him. When they heard what Saul said, they tried to kill him. They even put a pair of guards at the gate of the city to catch him if he tried to get away. But the followers of way hid Saul in the city, and they couldn't find him. One night, when it was dark, Saul and a small group of followers of the way climbed quietly to the top of the city wall. They carried a large basket and lots of rope. They tied the rope to the basket, and Saul climbed inside. And they lowered him down the wall, and he disappeared into the dark. Saul went into the desert of Arabia. He was confused and needed to understand what God wanted him to do. He had come to Damascus to catch the followers of the way, but now he was one of them. What did this mean? So Saul prayed. He watched the empty desert and listened to its silence, and he came close to God, and God came close to him so that he knew what God wanted him to do. He was to travel to the ends of the earth and tell people what had happened to him. His work was to try to say how his hate had turned to love, and to begin churches where people could show how this was done. He was also to write letters to help the new churches do this. So Saul began his work. He went back to Jerusalem to meet with Peter and James and others there, now called Christians. They were suspicious, but finally they said to keep telling the story to the Gentiles, the non-Jews. Saul even changed his name. He was traveling so much in the Roman Empire that he began to use his Roman name, Paul. Paul's work was to start churches, but he also wrote letters to young churches to help them with their problems. He wrote to the Philippians and the Ephesians. He wrote to the Thessalonians and the Corinthians. He even wrote to the Romans and told them he wanted to visit them and then go to Spain. Paul turned toward Jerusalem for the last time. As soon as he came into the city and went to the temple, he wanted to make a sacrifice. He was still a Nazirite, keeping strict Jewish law, as well as being a Christian. People shouted that he did not belong there. Some began to push him. The Roman soldiers came running. They pushed back the people with shields, short swords, and spears. They saved Paul's life and marched him to the fortress Antonia. The Roman soldiers decided to beat him to find out why the Jews wanted to kill him, but that was when Paul told him that he was a Roman citizen and he had to be taken to Roman courts. He was taken to Caesarea on the coast, and after about 2 years he was put on a ship that was sailing to Rome to be judged in the law courts there. Paul sailed to Rome. His ship sank, but he was saved and went on anyway. Paul was kept a prisoner in his own house. A soldier guarded him, but he could go visit friends while he was waiting for the Roman court to decide what he had done wrong. Some say that Paul went on to Spain and then came back to Rome. Others think he was executed after the Great Fire, which burned in Rome in the year 67. I like to think of Paul as still traveling to the ends of the earth. In addition to all of his travels, Paul wrote lots of letters, 13 letters, to all of the different churches. The Corinthians, the Philippians, the Thessalonians, the Romans. He wrote to his friend Timothy. Here are some maps of Paul's travels. He went everywhere. And at the end of his travels, he ended up in Rome. I wonder, what is the most important part of this story? I wonder where you see yourself in this story. Wonder if there's any part of this story we could leave out and still have all the story that we need. I want to thank you for sharing this story with me today. And today I'm going to read Get Up, Stand Up, which is based on the song by Bob Marley. And the book was adapted by Cedella Marley and illustrated by John Cabah. When you meet someone talking big and thinking small, and their stinging words push your back against the wall, no matter the silly games that people play, you have hopes and dreams they can't take away. When their words bite, stand up for what's right. Get up, stand up. Stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight. Some people need to be the pond's biggest fish. They don't speak the truth and only want their greedy wish. Remember to be true, the best of yourself. Then you'll be a friend to everybody else. Don't just sit tight. Be a bright light. Get up, stand up. Stand up for their rights. Get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight. Other people parade around with their noses stuck up in the air. They strut about all puffed up, only thinking for what they care. But if you know the value of what life is worth, you will find your feet firmly planted on the earth. Love with all your might. Be true to what is right. Get up, stand up. Stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight. Be a good neighbor and cherish your sisters and your brothers. Practice being kind to yourself and one another. What you give in goodwill shall be returned back to you. Share your truth and compassion. Together, there's much more we can do. So now we see the light. We're going to stand up for our rights. Get up, stand up. Stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight. Thank you, Mr. Marley. And we're going to close with this little thought today. I have always felt that the moment when you first wake up in the morning is the most wonderful of the 24 hours. No matter how weary or dreary you may feel, you possess the certainty that, during the day that lies before you, absolutely anything may happen. And the fact that it practically always doesn't matters not one jot. The possibility is always there. So thanks for joining in today, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. I hope you have a really good one. See you soon.